Kia ora, welcome to episode 98 of Talking Dairy. I'm your host, Jack McGowan, a senior developer here at DairyNZ, and today we're talking about the power of community and connection for young farmers. Young people are critical to the future of dairy farming. The sector relies on fresh talent, new ideas, and strong networks to remain world-leading. That's why DairyNZ is proud to partner with New Zealand Young Farmers, an organisation dedicated to connecting, nurturing and empowering young people in the ag sector. You may have seen the recent article about this partnership in the latest Inside Dairy. New Zealand Young Farmers has been a game changer for many, including today's guest, Robin Buser. Robin made the bold leap from a corporate career into dairying, and young farmers played a huge role in his journey. We're also joined by Lynda Coppersmith, Chief Executive of New Zealand Young Farmers, who's helped drive the organisation forward during her time at the helm. We'll discuss the evolution of young farmers, the value of industry partnerships, and why finding your farming family can make all the difference in this industry. Let's get into it. Tēnā korua, Lynda and Robin. Welcome to Talking Dairy.
Kia ora.
Howdy.
Okay, Robin, you have an interesting story. You made a conscious career change choice. Tell us about yourself and how you ended up in dairying.
Yeah, so typical townie. I'm actually a Zimbabwe import when I was 5 years old. So grew up in town, did the thing that everyone says you have to do to be successful and go to university, and got the degree in business, so marketing and strategic management side of things, which I enjoyed and I did pretty well at, and ended up working in a few different marketing roles. The last sort of two were I was a marketing advisor for the University of Waikato, and then I was the marketing executive at Field Days.
Right. So
looking after Field Days, Mystery Creek Event Centre, the Society. Long story short, my wife and I were building a house in Morrinsville, and to be able to do that, we were living with her parents on the dairy farm. And so you get stuck into, you're like, okay, I'll help relief milk, I'll help, with calving, just go in early in the morning, help them before going to work in the marketing role. And then one day, Dave, Mandy's stepdad, came to me. He's like, hey, look, I've got no kids. I don't want to be farming forever. Would you want to learn? If not, I'll go to one of my nephews. And I just told him bugger off, really. Because I looked at it, I was like, well, I've got 60K in debt. I'm not going to go friggin' milk cows.
Mm-hmm. Why was that?
I don't know. I was like, well, I've spent all this money on a degree in marketing. Yeah. I should stick to it, right? Like that was the logical thing. You put all these years and time. And then I was chatting to one of my previous mentors from the university, Varsha. She was the marketing manager there. And she sort of said to me, because she knew how much I loved the helping on the farm and bits and pieces. And she just said, Robin, at the end of the day, what would you rather wake up and do? Would you rather wake up and come to an office like this, or would you rather be on the farm? And then it sort of got me thinking. I was like, oh, well, actually, I really do love the physical work. I love the challenges, farming, using your hands. Long story short, I just said to my wife, I was like, I'll give it 1 year. And if I love it, I love it. If I hate it, then I can go back to marketing or something related, and that's it. That's the rest of my life, I think, until I can't work no more.
So how long ago was that?
That was 2020.
Okay, right. So you'd made this investment, obviously, in your marketing degree. Do you use those skills now in your farming?
I'd love to say, yeah. I guess there's elements you would be absolutely using, strategic management and just that sort of thought processing. And now sort of further on in the farming career, that business sort of side of things is helpful, because accounting and paperwork and GST and all that stuff comes to the factor in budgeting for, expenses. So to a degree, yeah, but not really.
Robin, what made you join New Zealand Young Farmers, and how has it helped you in your journey?
So working at Field Days, I knew young farmers was a thing. I'm the kind of person that when I do something, if it's a hobby or a career change, I suppose, I just go full ham. I was just like, okay, how do I do this really well and make sure I've given it a good nudge? Because if I'm giving it a year, I want to make sure I've given it everything I possibly can. And I was like, join Young Farmers. So before I'd even started working on a farm, I was already part of the Young Farmers Club and tagging along, not knowing anything. And yeah, it's just, honestly, it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made is for the sake of my career. It's been brilliant.
Why? Why has it been so brilliant?
Well, Warren's Narua, best club in the country.
I agree, yeah.
I've said it before to the team, like initially I was like, oh, here we go. I'm just going to turn up to the pub and there's just going to be a bunch of mullet-toting bogans. And then I got there and I thought I was at the wrong place because it was just like a big young group of people that just, looked like your everyday people. And it was just like, not just all dudes, it was like 50%, girls, 50% guys. And I was like, okay, is this the right table? And then I was like, hey, is this young farmers? Like, yeah. And I was like, okay, wow. And it was just such a welcoming group. Like the support that I've gotten from that, the lifelong friendships I've made from that group that I met on that first night, it's invaluable.
Cool. All right, to you, Lynda. New Zealand Young Farmers has been around for a long time. How has it evolved to support today's young people in the ag sector?
Thanks, Jack. Well, I suppose, we've been around for 100 years in 2027, so that has been a wee while. And lots of things about society have changed in that 100 years. Initially, in case people weren't aware, Young Farmers was just for men. And then we had the Country Girls Association. So I think it was sometime in the 60s, Country Girls merged with Young Farmers, and thus began a whole series of Young Farmers marriages, and Young Farmers families. At the very beginning, Young Farmers was very much around combating isolation for young people and a way to meet people because they didn't have social media or any other way of connecting really other than these kind of organised clubs. So that was very much the focus, and it still is. It very much still is. But I think now we've recognised the benefits of young farmers in relation to things like pastoral care, mental health, connection. We do a lot more online now. We try to make young farmers accessible to everybody, not just meeting in groups. So I think that we've just evolved with the times, but at its heart, Young Farmers probably hasn't changed, which it's all about, connecting and nurturing and developing young people who are going to be the future of the sector. I guess 57 years ago, we started Young Farmer of the Year, so that's evolved in its own right. It's probably the premier rural competition in New Zealand. It's definitely a lot of fun, and it's just so inspiring seeing our young people compete on the Young Farmers stage. So that in itself is evolving all the time as well, to the point where I think that has evolved from being very practical focused, which was the original, the nature of farming, to now reflecting what farming is all about, which includes those technical skills and the business skills and some of the science and then the other considerations around farming that potentially weren't there 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. So yeah, that's kind of how we've evolved, and we're still really the most renowned rural dating club in New Zealand. That hasn't changed.
Very nice. And Robin, have you participated in the Young Farmers competition yet?
I thought you were going to ask if I've been part of that dating
club.
I would never. Yeah, I participated a few times. I haven't quite gotten as far as
You've convened a lot, haven't you, Robin?
Yeah, I convened the Waikato Bay of Plenty when we did the trial of the new format, and it was fantastic. And so I've competed twice and convened one of them.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just such a cool event. Honestly, just anyone and everyone, give it a go, or you're there to win it, sort of thing. It's just it's awesome.
So, Lynda, how does DairyNZ support New Zealand young farmers, and why is this partnership important for young people in dairy?
DairyNZ's been partnering with us for a long time now, and I think largely at a very high level it's around that shared goal of wanting to ensure that we have young people coming through into the dairy sector wanting to work on farm and off farm, and who feel supported, that they have a positive experience and they stay in the sector. I mean, unfortunately, the dairy sector has quite high turnover after 1 to 2 years. So young people coming in, and not just young people, but anyone coming in and then going, actually, maybe this is not for me. So I think we share the goal of, making that experience as positive and supportive as possible so that we do keep that pipeline strong and we do have really great young and talented people coming through. From a practical perspective, DairyNZ supports us financially. Obviously, it costs a bit to support our club network and to make sure it's thriving and functioning as well as it can be. And we've done lots of projects with DairyNZ around attraction and careers and things like that. But probably more recently, I think it's just been more of a partnership where we're very aligned in certain areas. And so we're working together to achieve common goals. And that's very much the direction we're in now.
And there's obviously a mutual value proposition for both employees and employers around young farmers. Some of the benefits for employees to become members have already been mentioned by yourself and Robin. What are the benefits for employers?
Well, I think this is an area that we're really focused on at the moment in terms of making sure employers understand what that value proposition is. We're providing our young farmers members not just with that social connection, which can often mean the difference between staying and going when it comes to being isolated in a more rural or remote area, but it's also opportunities for that personal development. I mean, if you get into the Young Farmers Executive, I think you were, Robin, were you the chair of the club at some stage or the vice chair or something like that?
I've had a mix of roles, I've been all over the show, to be honest, but yeah.
So often the members will get an opportunity to have their first go at leadership, and they'll be a chair of a club or they'll be treasurer, so they start to learn some skills there, and then they may well progress through to the national committee and then on through to the board. But what it's providing is those opportunities to upskill and learn and grow that the employer may not be able to offer. And so this helps to provide that for their employees. Also, it's an opportunity to get some of that practical skills around leading people through, like Robin talks about, convening those events that he's done. That requires, sometimes it's going to be like herding cats. So, you really have to get your leadership hat on and be able to influence and inspire people and get them on the bus. So there's a lot of opportunities to do that in young farmers, which potentially they may not get on the ground just in their role on the farm.
And Robin, you've spoken about the strong network and support system within New Zealand young farmers. Can you share an example of when that network really helped you?
There's wouldn't be really any one specific times, because it's just been so many times. It's been super beneficial, from the backyard sessions we do as a club to all the guest speakers to the whether it's the accountant coming in and running through the cost calculators of it. If you're going to go contract milking, this is the things to consider and bits and pieces. But I guess for me the main thing was, so when I went the first year contract milking, because I'm the kind of person that I look at a job advertisement and I'm not like, I don't have the prerequisite skills. I'm like, I reckon I could do that. So I got the contract milking role, and I was just in the thick of it, pretty early on in the career, only after a couple of seasons. And then just the support from the young farmer crew, because obviously there's so many in there that are farming far longer than me. It's just the Snapchat chats being like, oh my gosh, look at this water leak. What do I do here? Or, it's just it's about to rain. I'm thinking about standing the cows off, or whatever it might be. It's just a constant back and forth. And they're checking in on you too. They're being like, how you doing, bud? Like, is everything going good? And then the odd time they brought over lunch just because they knew there was a lot going on. And it's just invaluable, that sort of support and the ability to ask questions. And I reckon the first year contract milking was probably the most crucial time for me.
And you've both talked about the isolation, so having that support to make decisions which are often quite hard at times, especially your first year contract milking.
Yeah, absolutely, because you tend to second guess everything, right? And sometimes it's just that reassurance that, your gut feeling's right, but it's just nice to have someone in the background being like, that's the right idea, you're good, keep on going. Or
even that it's okay for it to be hard at the moment.
Yeah, too right, yeah. There's been a lot of conversations around things are tough, like I'm stressed, blah, blah, blah. And it's just good to be like, okay, it's, having these people to talk to and get through it when it's just constantly raining like that 2023 season was. And it's, what do I even do?
I think that's one of the nice things about young farmers, if I can just jump in, Jack, is just that they do look out for each other. And that's at all of the clubs across the country. They check in on it if someone doesn't turn up to a meeting, or if someone's having a tough time. And if they get really worried, they'll often reach out to us and say, what kind of resources have you got? How can we connect someone with the help they need? So it's that looking out for each other, which is just so critical.
Yeah, so important.
But it also, as a national side of things, there's been some awesome programs run by the national office to, have guest speakers coming in from rural support, whoever it is, to help start those conversations and be like, if you're struggling, this is what you can do. And or as regions, like there's one year we did carve care packages to all the members within the region, just with, like chocolates, coffee, instant coffee, some mental health resource, being like, if you're struggling, here's some top tips of how to manage it, or here's some phone numbers to call. But yeah, it's sort of like it's definitely feels like it's from the top down, that support too.
Lynda, as you near the end of your time leading New Zealand Young Farmers, what's been the most rewarding part of the role for you?
Probably don't really know where to start with that one. This is the kind of role that you kind of dream about having, where you get to meet and work with amazing people all the time, every day. We're actually a small organisation when you look at us on paper in terms of staff and turnover, yet we pack a huge punch and we have a massive brand in our sector and a lot of expectations on us, which we try to meet as much as we can. So it's been a huge privilege for me to be in this role. I think probably the most rewarding part has been watching, because I'm in my 7th year, I've had the privilege of watching some people sort of starting their journey in young farmers. Robin's one of them, right through to where they are now and what they're achieving. And I'm almost like a proud mum. Even watching Tim Danjan, when I first started in the role, Tim Danjan was in his first year of competing, and I've saw him come back 3 or 4 years in a row, same with his sister Emma, and then to watch them win. I can't even describe how proud I was of them, and those relationships will last forever. So watching people at all different parts of young farmers, watching their journey, watching them learn, watching their confidence grow and develop, and just then seeing them just go off into the sector and do amazing things. It's a huge privilege, and I'm going to be very sad when I leave. But at the same time, I think, organisations need a change of leadership. You need fresh ideas. And so, it'd be good to see what the next person brings.
And so as you step away, what is your hope for the future of New Zealand young farmers?
Well, I'll probably get a bit on my soapbox here. What I would love to see is I would love to see young farmers get recognised probably more formally for the value it's delivering to our sector, especially the way that we support and we develop our young people. We are just at our heart a membership organisation, an incorporated society, and yet a lot of what we do, you could argue, is for the good of the industry, which is why DairyNZ supports us, which is fantastic. We love it. We're nearly 100 years old and we've been doing some fantastic stuff for 100 years, and I would love us to be doing that for another 100 years more. But, it is tough financially to support the organisation. So, sometimes a little bit more recognition would be nice.
And so what would more formal recognition look like?
I think probably even just being acknowledged. We're not an industry good organisation by a long shot, but a lot of our value comes from the history that we have and the brand that we have and the network of clubs and so on. But there's always, I guess, a belief that someone else pays for that. You know what I mean? And without putting too fine a point on it. And so to have a sustainable source of probably funding would be quite nice to allow us to do more to support our clubs and more to grow the network and to do more for the likes of Robin and the young people that are coming through.
All right, Robin, what's next for you and your family? How has your experience with New Zealand Young Farmers shaped your career plans?
Like I said, honestly, a lot of my learnings and insights have come from those friends and those guest speakers and the competitions I've done and everything that I've been involved in. I've always said to people, I'm that kind of person that's, you get people like, if you have any questions, just give me a call. I'm like, oh, you sucker. Because I'm the person that will give you a call. You're guaranteed if it's a vet, if it's my primary ITO tutor, gave me his number. If you need anything, give me a call. All right, sweet as. But next steps for us, we've just bought a herd of cows, which is super exciting. So the farm we're contract milking on, they wanted us back and they were happy to sell us the cows. So super, super pumped for that. So June 1st, we take that over. And then, just looking at the next 10 years, trying to do some dreaming with my wife, and we've got a newborn now as well as a 3-year-old. So
congratulations.
Things are pretty carnage, but you're just trying to see, where do we want to be in, say, 10 years' time? So we're gunning for that farm ownership and just trying to figure out what's along the way. So herd ownership, maybe getting a lease block local to Morans or somewhere if there's one that pops up or whatever it might be. But young farmers has been and will always be a big part of everything we've done and things. There's even been conversations now that obviously I'm almost on my way out. I've got this is my last year of being.
You'll be alumni now, Robin.
Being young, I don't even have hair anymore. Like I can't be here forever. But there's a few of us in that sort of group that have seen that much value from young farmers. We're chatting now about how we can continue something like that going for this age stage of where we're at. So we're thinking about putting a barbecue together and putting a message out and just getting a group together consistently, whether it's, even if it's once a month, once every 2 months, just try keep a community going because we know how beneficial it is for everyone. That's the future plans anyway.
And any final words from either of you? What would you say to anyone sitting on the fence about joining Young Farmers or perhaps moving regions next season?
I know what I'd say. I'd say you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I'd say Young Farmers is a lifestyle. It's not just a club, and that you'll probably make some friends that you'll have for life, and you might even meet your life partner. So why not?
I totally agree. Even to the point where, everyone around me's seen what that's done to me. So like my little brother's doing the exact same thing as me. He's a software engineer by trade, townie growing up, and June 1st, he's going full-time dairy farming too.
Wow.
And he surprised me the other day. He's like, oh, yeah. So I was like, oh, do you want to come and play some board games with me and the guys? And he's like, no. I've joined up some Young Farmers and I've got a big stack to go cover. I was
nice.
Like, righto. So he's done the same thing as me before he's even started farming. He's gotten involved because he knows what that can do for you in your career. So yeah, just do it.
And the other thing I would say to the employers, and this is a big focus for us at the moment, is trying to help our employers to understand the benefits of having their staff and trainees join Young Farmers and even paying for their membership because sometimes they've got no money. So, covering the costs of things like that, giving them some time off to attend events, it's well worthwhile, and your staff and your trainees will get a lot out of it. It'll give them a nice, well-rounded experience, not just what they're doing on farm, but also what they're doing off farm.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Ngā mihi nui, a huge thank you to Lynda and Robin for sharing their experiences and insights. It's clear that the New Zealand Young Farmers and DairyNZ partnership is making a real impact, supporting young farmers, connecting them with opportunities and strengthening the future of the industry. If you're on the fence about joining New Zealand Young Farmers or considering a career in dairy, take Robin's advice. Just give it a nudge, go full ham. Whether it's through a local club, an event, or one of their fantastic contests, New Zealand Young Farmers is a great way to build connections, develop skills, and be part of a strong community. We'll link to their website in the show notes. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Talking Dairy. Make sure to hit follow so you can keep up to date with our latest episodes. You can also keep up with DairyNZ News on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or go to our website and sign up for our fortnightly DairyNZ News emails. As always, if you have any feedback on this podcast or have some ideas for future topics or guests to have on the show, please email us at talkingdairy@dairynz.co.nz. Mā te wā, Mōri ora, catch you next time.